Good morning. My name is Lillian Govis, Buncombe County Director of Communications and Public Engagement. This is your community briefing for Wednesday, January 22nd. Normally, I would remind my neighbors in Swannanoa that it's trash day, but with the weather on Monday, collections are delayed a day. So have those bins out tomorrow. The FCC crews will finish up trash and recycling collection on Saturday this week. As we face really cold temperatures, we want to remind you that a code purple is active today and tomorrow. And we have Emily Ball here from the City of Asheville to talk more about our the homeless strategies division and the point in time count a little bit later. But we do want to make sure that folks know that participating shelters will provide more beds with fewer requirements than their typical programming needs to people who are experiencing homelessness. Bus transit through ART is free to Code Purple shelters. During periods when a Code Purple has been called, you'll see our Register of Deeds office and our HHS building at 40 Cox illuminated in purple to help folks passing by know that additional sheltering options are available. We also want to let folks know, and Avril will touch on this more, but you'll start seeing some of these orange stickers on titled vehicles out in the county. And this is an indicator to that property owner that that is part of the collection process. And Avril will touch on it more, but if folks have questions, if you see one of these on a vehicle or a property, a title property that you own, you can call our call center at 828-250-6100. We also want to let folks know that on Friday, there will be a visit from the president to this area. With that, please anticipate significant traffic impacts for a few hours midday, likely between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Today, we will hear from Charles Zink, Executive Director of the Madison and Buncombe County Offices of the Farm Service Agency. He's going to discuss two programs for farmlands and forest landowners. We also have the City of Asheville here to provide updates, but first, here is County Manager Avril Pender.
Thank you, Lillian. Last week, we updated you about some of the challenges the county is facing due to budget impacts after Helene. In a joint meeting on January 16th, the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners, Asheville City Schools, and Buncombe County Schools began a review of the FY25 budget, which runs through June 30th, 2025. We are challenged with high unemployment rates, damage to residential and commercial units, drop in occupancy tax, and reduced sales tax revenues. Across the board, county revenues through June 30 are expected and projected to be $15 to $25 million less than budgeted for 2025. State and federal disaster relief legislation allows for a specific one-time funding mechanism, but to date has not replaced regular recurring revenues. Because projected revenues are coming in less than budgeted, Buncombe County has enacted a $17.6 million expenditure reduction plan that includes hiring freeze for positions that are under my leadership in my portfolio, 89 positions, with the exception of 911 staff, program reductions to public health, social work services, justice services, economic development, and economic services, reduction in IT infrastructure and software implementation, deferred scheduled maintenance to county facilities, reduction in animal service capacity, and reduction in library hours and recreation programming, reduction in tax reappraisal funding, and future conservation easements. Last night, the Board of Commissioners voted on its decision to reduce education appropriations by 4% for each district. If state or federal funds are received, we would replenish this funding. County staff will continue monitoring revenues, identifying savings, limiting expenditures, and adjust accordingly. Now, work has begun on the FY 2026 budget with a focus on balancing economic realities with recovery needs. The next fiscal year 2026 budget work session is scheduled for March 20th, with updated revenue projections Revenue drivers like property tax, sales tax, and intergovernmental fees are key considerations. The county is committed to maintaining its AAA bond rating, which means borrowing costs will remain low. Now moving into our recovery efforts. County staff has transitioned from emergency response to recovery. The county's recovery support functions include debris management, economic revitalization, health and social services, including education, housing, infrastructure and access, and natural and cultural resources. Staff will work to align recovery support functions with strategic priorities, recognizing that additional changes may be necessary moving forward. Buncombe County is hosting a series of drop-in sessions to connect residents to supportive recovery resources and facilitate direct engagement with staff. These events are designed to provide personalized support and foster meaningful conversations about recovery pathways and community resources available to Helene survivors. Each drop-in session will feature connections to housing assistance, mental health services, disaster case management, debris removal, roads and bridges information, permits and planning, agriculture resources, and more. Recovery staff will be available to discuss individual needs, answer questions, and connect residents with appropriate services. The events are open to everyone and aim to create a welcoming space for dialogue and support. So those drop-in sessions will be held at various locations throughout the county to ensure accessibility for all residents. Interpreters will be on site to assist Spanish-speaking survivors. Light refreshments will be served. These events will be held at Barnersville Fire Station on February 13th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., Owen High School Cafeteria on February 20th, Reynolds High School Cafeteria February 25th, and Leicester Community Center February 27th. All events are from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Again, those dates are Barnersville Fire Station, February 13th, Owen High School Cafeteria, February 20th, Reynolds High School Cafeteria, February 25th, and Leicester Community Center, February 27th. We hope that you will join us at these community events to get the resources and connections you need to help with recovery. And now we'll shift to programs available to help keep you warm during these cold months. So Buncombe County residents who were impacted by Helene and who need assistance with home heating can apply for the Disaster Energy Assistance Program. This program can cover utility bills, deposits, reconnection fees, as well as repair and replacement costs and other heating-related costs, such as insulation replacements and coats and blankets. To be eligible, you must have been impacted by Hurricane Helene and a Buncombe County resident at the time of the application and at the time of the disaster. You must also have an income that meets the 2025 disaster gross income limits, which is 60% of the state median income. So for example, that is a maximum monthly income of $5,247 for a household of 4. To learn more and apply, visit buncombecounty.org. Applying online is the fastest and easiest way. You can also apply in person at 40 Cox Avenue in Asheville or by calling 828-250-5500. There are 2 important deadlines coming up for those needing assistance after Helene. Helene survivors have 2 weeks left to apply for FEMA assistance, which can cover rental aid, utility costs, and other disaster-related expenses. Apply by February the 6th at disasterassistance.gov or call 1-800-621-3362. Or you can visit the Asheville Mall Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now, due to the devastating fires in California, phone wait times may be long. So if you're able, going to Disaster Recovery Center at the Asheville Mall may be your best option. That same February 6th deadline applies for disaster unemployment assistance. Residents and businesses in Buncombe County and other affected areas may apply if their employment was impacted by Hurricane Helene. You can apply at des.nc.gov. FEMA is continuing to assist Western North Carolina residents displaced by Helene through the Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program, or TSA, which provides temporary hotel stays while survivors work towards permanent housing solutions. TSA will continue through May 26, 2025. So May the 26th, 2025, for those who meet eligibility. People who are able to stay in TSA do not have a safe, permanent place to stay in. Some important information regarding the TSA program. Eligibility reviews are conducted every 2 weeks to ensure ongoing need. Ineligible survivors will now receive an extended notice of 21 days from FEMA instead of the 7 before needing to vacate or to check out of the hotel. TSA will remain available through May 26th of 2025 as long as needed for eligible survivors. TSA will end only for families who are no longer eligible due to an inspection showing their house is habitable, declining an inspection, or not reachable by FEMA after several attempts. Survivors must update FEMA with their current housing and contact information to avoid delay in assistance. If you've been notified about a change in your eligibility or need further help, call 800-621-3362 or visit the Disaster Recovery Center at the Asheville Mall. We are also happy to share there is more support for survivors. The North Carolina Disaster Case Management Program is now available to guide individuals and households in Buncombe County through the Helene recovery process. After you complete an initial needs assessment, a case manager will work with you to make a personalized recovery plan and connect you with available resources. To get started, call 844-746-2326 or fill out the North Carolina Disaster Case Management Intake Form at buncombecounty.org. That is 844-746-2326 or fill out the NCDCM, North Carolina Disaster Case Management Intake Form at buncombecounty.org. Steady progress continues to be made in removing storm debris from our community. As of today, Wednesday, January 22nd, more than 806,000 cubic yards of debris and 68,000 tons of soil and mud have been removed from the public right-of-way in Buncombe County, Black Mountain, and the City of Asheville. Today, there are 29 trucks running in Buncombe County for the right-of-way collection. Crews are beginning the second pass of debris collections. If you recall, we shared with you that there will be multiple passes. We're now beginning that second pass of debris collection. So if you have debris to be collected and you can get it to the public right-of-way, now is the time to do so. The collection of cars, RVs, and trailers, known as title properties, you saw Lillian hold up the orange sticker that you will start seeing appearing on cars throughout the community. That is expected to begin this month, January 2025. This is a very complex process as it involves various entities, from the sheriff's office to the legal department to solid waste and more. The county is contracting with local towing companies to remove these damaged vehicles and vessels. We are developing a process aligned with state statute and local ordinances, which is important for residents to know. What is important for residents to know is that teams will work across departments to locate owners and make arrangements for removal. As owners are identified, they will need to check with their insurance company to determine if their coverage can pay for towing and etc. If not, the county will use the towing company that was procured via a request for proposal to remove the property and take it to a processing site where it can be claimed or otherwise processed. More information will be shared on this as details are finalized. Waterway debris removal is expected to begin in February, next month. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has released a request for proposal for removal of debris from waterway. Environmental and historical preservation review will occur alongside the procurement. Progress also continues to be made with private property debris removal. The private property debris removal program has made a lot of progress with over 2,000 applications submitted to the program. This program allows crews to enter your private, residential, or commercial property so they can access debris and remove it for free. We understand the people that applied back in November may feel like this is taking longer than expected. But every agency involved in this complex process is working towards the goal of removing debris from these properties as soon as possible. Tetra Tech that's our debris consultant, is providing direct phone notifications to all applicants with a status update of their application, so they can feel more informed about the next steps. If you haven't already applied and need help, we can't encourage you enough to do that now. Intake centers are located at Black Mountain Library, Barnersville Fire Department, Swannanoa Fire and Rescue, that is the Bee Tree Substation, and Fairview Library. For more details or to apply 24/7, you can visit buncombecounty.org. And now updates on new trash and recycling pickup provider, FCC. We know the delays and missed pickups have been incredibly frustrating. For our community, it has already endured enough challenges. We have set an action plan for FCC, and our expectations are for them to maintain a 98% collection rate beginning February 1st. They have agreed to this, and they are continuing to increase staffing and resources to get the job done that we've hired them to do. Of course, the weather has impacted collections, and this week was no different. With snowy and icy conditions on the collection area, collections has been pushed back one day. FCC will complete collections on Saturday. Customers can check their schedules at buncombecounty.org/solid waste. If you have questions, please contact the SEC customer service number at 828-820-7022. We also have an issues tracker available at www.buncombecounty.org/solid waste. Here you can note issues with collections. You can also report waste pro cans that still need to be collected or debris that is in unsafe areas. You can also call Waste Pro at 828-585-5074. Again, that number for Waste Pro is 828-585-5074. We know that changes like these are never easy, and this is a problem that we are committed to fixing. An update on our community care stations. Showers, water, bottled laundry, and more resources are available in our most impacted communities daily from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Bethel United Methodist, Fairview Ingalls, Owen Pool, and Morgan Hill Baptist Church. We don't have any changes to report to these schedules at this time. And I will hear from Charles Zink, Executive Director of the Madison and Buncombe County Office of Farm Services Agency.
Good morning. I'm Charles Zink with the Farm Service Agency. I cover Madison, Buncombe, and I'm acting director currently in Haywood County as well. I'm going to discuss two programs that are very popular now for farmers that we are reaching out to. The first one, I'm going to mention them first. The Emergency Conservation Program, which we refer to as the ECP program, and the Emergency Forest Restoration Program, which we refer to as EFRP. The Emergency Conservation Program and the Emergency Forest Restoration Program are administered by USDA and the Farm Service Agency. After Hurricane Helene, the Buncombe County was determined to be eligible for ECP and EFRP. Producers in Buncombe County who are interested in either of the programs should contact the Buncombe County FSA office to apply. The deadline to apply is June the 2nd, 2025. Program eligibility for the Emergency Conservation Program. Land must be in a farming operation, in a production of agricultural products, commodities, livestock, or managed forest land, or operated by a person, entity, joint operation, and could choose to make an application with USDA. Eligible land includes land uses for commercial farming, ranching, orchard growing, growing nursery stock, Christmas tree plantations, grazing for commercial livestock production, and conservation structures such as waterway, terraces, diversions, windbreaks, conservation problems existing before the disaster are ineligible for ECP. Touch on some program highlights for ECP. ECP is a cost share program with USDA. Up to 75% of the costs to implement the approved restoration practices. Up to 90% of the cost is available for producers who certify as limited resource, socially disadvantaged, or beginning farmers and ranchers. An ECP plan will be developed by the producer and the Farm Service Agency. Must maintain the practices in most cases for 10 or more years. Some of the practices we have available: removing debris from the farmland, which includes cleanup of wind or water deposits, such as woody material, sand, rocks, trash on cropland or pasture land. Grading and reshaping and leveling land, which includes filling gullies, releveling irrigated, non-irrigated farmland, and incorporating sand and silt back to its state. Restoring fences, livestock cross fences, boundary fences, cattle gates, wildlife exclusion fences on any agricultural land. And the last practice is restoring conservation structures. These are structures such as waterways, terrace, diversions, ditches, and permanently installed ditching systems. Now, this is not natural waterways, okay? On the Emergency Forest Restoration Program, EFRP, program eligibility, very similar to ECP. Land must be in a farming operation in the production of agricultural products, commodities, livestock, or managed forest land, and operated by a person, entity, joint operation that could choose to make an application with USDA benefits. Also, it has to be non-industrial private forest land, which means rural forest lands with existing tree cover or had tree cover prior to the disaster, which is suitable for growing trees with the intent of timber production that are owned by a private and non-industrial forest landowner. EFRP, also a cost share program with USDA. EFRP plan will be developed by the producer and a technical agency, which in our case is North Carolina Forest Service. Must be maintained for 10 plus years, depending on the practice that the producer puts in. Some of the eligible practices are access roads and rehabilitation, which is for fire protection, better known as logging roads. Brush management, whether it's mechanical or chemical. Removal of trees and brush from those access roads. timber stand improvement, which can be by chemical or hand treatment, and then weed treatment as well, which can be chemical. How to apply for these programs? You need to contact the Buncombe County Farm Service Agency office at 828-649-2712, extension 2, and request an appointment. Other programs that we have that I'm going to briefly just mention that we have is the Livestock Indemnity Program, which provides benefits to eligible livestock owners for livestock deaths caused by an eligible disaster event. We have the Emergency Assistance for Livestock, Honeybee, and Farm-Raised Fish, which provides financial assistance to eligible producers of livestock, honeybees, and farm-raised fish for losses due to the eligible disaster. And lastly, we got the Tree Assistance Program, which provides financial assistance to eligible orchards and nursery tree growers to replant and rehabilitate eligible trees, bushes, and vines lost by natural disasters. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. And he's going to stick around in case our media partners have questions for him at the end of this. And now we are going to turn this over to our partners from the City of Asheville. So I'll introduce City Manager Deborah Campbell.
Thank you, Lillian. Good morning. And again, my name is Deborah Campbell, and I serve as the City Manager of Asheville. As usual, I want to start by thanking everyone in the community for your continued support and your ongoing efforts to contribute to our community's recovery from Tropical Storm Helene. I want to also say Happy New Year. This is my first briefing this year. We are on day 119 of our emergency response and recovery efforts. Today, the city team will have brief updates on water testing and sampling results, the flood assistance support team, which is a new team we've put together to help the community navigate through the flood zone permitting process, Asheville Buncombe County Continuum of Care's upcoming point in time count of people experiencing homelessness, including people who are homeless due to Helene, and a survey that is now live to capture the community's priorities for Helene recovery. I'll now turn it over to Water Public Information Officer Clay Chandler. I know y'all been missing Clay. Clay will be followed by Mark Matheny to present on our new FAST team. Emily Ball will update you on the annual point in time count. And then I will come back up to close out with information about a Helene recovery community survey. Clay.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. It is good to be back. All right, we'll start with quick turbidity update. As of 10 o'clock this morning, turbidity at North Fork was around 7. I think since the last time I was up here, that's down on 3-ish, maybe 4 points. It's been at 7 for about a couple of weeks. I thought it would stay at 10, and then I thought it would stay at 8. So I have no idea how long it will stay at 7. The good news is it's pretty much been on a steady downward curve. Corps of Engineers system is operational. They dialed output back to around 2 million gallons a day while they sort of figure out how well those staff units can handle this extreme cold. Starting tomorrow, I believe the plan is to ramp those back up. A lot of new lead results since the last time I was up here. All told, we have almost 1,200 results posted so far. 24 had detectable levels of lead on the first draw. Excuse me. 9 of those 24 were over the action limit of 0.015 parts per billion. Out of 1,175 flush samples, 5 had detectable levels of lead, 3 of which were right at the detection limit. 2 were over the action level. We identified a couple of issues with the customers and have taken remediation steps since then and have also resampled. We are waiting on those 2 particular results to come back. The detects continue to share a commonality. Customers' water systems had all been sitting dormant for an extended period, and we are still well within the 90th percentile required by the EPA and the DEQ, meaning at least 90% of the first draw samples must be, that if they have a detectable level of lead, they must be under the action limit. I think we're actually at like 98.9%. Not surprised by the results. We are nevertheless very encouraged, and they reinforce that flushing is the best way to minimize risk of lead exposure. Sticking with the lead theme for just a second here, we did go back and resample our existing lead and copper sampling pool. And those sites are the ones that we have tested every 3 years as part of our compliance with DEQ's lead awareness program. Out of 51 of those sites that we sampled out of the sampling pool in December, 3 had a detectable level of lead on the first draw. Only 1 was over the action level. Those very same sites were sampled in July before Helene. And then same numbers, 3 had a detectable level of lead on the first draw, 1 of which was over the action level. So that is very good news because we have comparative sampling data on that sampling pool from over the years, and essentially nothing has changed. That's pretty strong evidence that if corrosion control was ever lost, and there's not a whole lot of evidence that it was, that it is all the way back. We are obviously very, very happy with that. Lead test kit pickup and drop-off continues to be available at Asheville City Hall at 70 Court Plaza from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Again, 2 parking spots outside City Hall are designated for customers picking up and dropping off test kits. The 3 libraries are also available from 10:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. And those branches are North Asheville Library, 1030 Merriman Avenue, East Asheville Library at 3 Avon Road, and West Asheville Library at 942 Haywood Road. The libraries will be available until the end of January. The last day to pick up a test kit from the libraries is 5 p.m. Tuesday, January the 28th. The last day to drop off your test kit at either of the libraries is 5 p.m. Friday, January 31st. Water Resources strongly encourages our customers who want a lead test kit to pick one up and drop it off before January the 31st. After then, our capacity to get test kits to the lab and the results back to the customers is going to be significantly decreased as we return to normal operations. That's it for me. And for right now, I'm going to turn it over to Mark Matheny.
Good afternoon, Mark Matheny, Director of Development Services for the City of Asheville. We've created a Floodplain Assistance Support Team, or FAST. This was developed to provide focused and personalized support for property and building owners in the coming weeks and months as everybody prepares and looks forward to rebuilding. The FAST team will be reaching out to property owners who may have experienced substantial damage from Helene. They will start by reviewing properties that have already been submitted. Their permits have been placed on hold. The permits on hold have generally had obvious substantial damage or were close to the substantial damage threshold based on preliminary value information available at the time of the application. These permits were placed on hold to provide staff the opportunity to work directly with the contractor and building owners for any up-to-the-date building value information, such as pre-storm appraisals, as well as to discuss their options for rebuilding. While in soft launch mode for the past week, the team officially kicks off its duties this week and have already had meetings relative to 16 separate properties. You can contact the team by email at fast@asheville.nc.gov. The team is not only here to provide the support mentioned above, but to provide customized individual service and work all angles to find workable solutions for the future of the impacted buildings. Homeless Strategy Division Manager Emily Ball will now share an update on the Asheville Buncombe Continuum of Care's upcoming point-in-time count. Emily?
Hey, good morning. I don't have anything to add to what Mark just said. I'm Emily Ball. I manage the Homeless Strategy Division at the City of Asheville. We serve as the primary staff support for the Asheville Buncombe Continuum of Care, so I'm here in that capacity. The Continuum of Care, or COC, is our community's collaborative planning body that is leading homelessness response. And all COCs across the country are federally required to complete a one-night census of people experiencing homelessness during the last 10 days in January every year. I often get questions about why it happens when it happens, and that's the reason. It is a federal requirement that it happened in the last 10 days of January. This is called the point-in-time count, and the results of that count are reported to Congress and can inform both federal strategy and our local strategy. Federal regulations specify who is counted and the count includes people who are in emergency shelters, people in transitional housing programs. It also includes people in hotels and motels paid for by an agency, so FEMA certainly is included in that for us this year, as well as people who are unsheltered, so people who are camping, maybe in a car or in a place otherwise not meant for habitation. The count will take place next Tuesday, January 28th in the evening, and then again Wednesday, January 29th in the morning and midday. We do need volunteers to help survey people experiencing homelessness. We have training provided. There's a registration link available. And I want to stress that participation in the point-in-time count is voluntary. That means our data will always be a bit limited, but it is important that people's information that we maintain confidentiality around people's personal information. We will share out aggregate and de-identified results to the Continuum of Care and to the community later this spring. So I'll now turn it back over to City Manager Deborah Campbell.
Thank you, Emily. Just going to give a brief update on our recovery priorities survey. So last Thursday, city staff launched a survey that seeks to capture a first look at the community's priorities for Helene recovery. The survey, which takes approximately 10 minutes, let's say that again, which takes approximately 10 minutes to complete, is available now and will remain open through Sunday, February 2nd. Results will be shared with the City Council and will directly inform discussions at the Council's retreat on February 13th and 14th. We've currently had over 2,400 responses and hope to see that number continue to increase. The survey is available in multiple languages, including English, Spanish, Ukrainian, and Russian, and can be accessed through the QR code on the screen visiting this web address, publicinput.com/Helene Recovery Survey, or by clicking the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city's website at asheville.gov. In addition to promoting the survey through the media and online mediums, such as social media, e-news, and stakeholder networks, we also have staff on the ground sharing information about the survey in neighborhoods and business communities to support representation from all parts of our community. We hope you will share your thoughts and experiences through the survey. Please know This is a first step in recovery engagement, and there will be additional engagement opportunities in the coming months. So in closing, I'd like to encourage the community to watch City Council's agenda briefing this Thursday, January 23rd. Capital Management Director Jay Dundas will give an overview of storm-related infrastructure impacts and the FEMA public assistance opportunities we have to recover costs associated with the damage. The briefing will be virtual and can be viewed live or after the meeting on the city's YouTube channel, which is available on the front page of the city's website at www.asheville.nc.gov. Also, we plan to have a more detailed update on debris removal efforts in the city of Asheville at our next briefing. And as always, thank you to our mayor, our city council, our local, federal, and state partners, and to our community. Thank you also to city staff. I remain in awe of this group of dedicated professionals who have done an incredible job helping with recovery efforts. We continue to make steady progress, and we remain committed to building back better. I think this goes to you, Lillian.
All right, we are going to open it up to questions from the media who are joining us on a separate Zoom link. I do want to point out two things that are fairly impressive in our community. We have surpassed the $100 million mark of individual assistance in Buncombe County from FEMA. And so for folks who haven't yet registered with FEMA, please do so, because this $100 million has gone to people in Buncombe County to help in the recovery efforts. We've also had more than 700 households who have qualified for rental assistance through FEMA. And so those dollars are still available. Head over and get signed up, and we will help you find some more solutions. All right, moving to our members of the media.
Hi, Lillian. This is Madison. How are you?
Hey, Madison.
I have a few questions for Clay. I don't know if you want to get him up here first, but I can start asking if that's fine.
Oh yeah, he's on his way up.
Okay, great. Hi, Clay. For the water situation, one, what is the goal for turbidity levels?
We'd love to get back to pre-storm 0.5 to 1. I don't believe that's possible in the near term. Also, the turbidity level in the raw water, which is the number that I give you, which is 7 right now, is not the turbidity number of the water that's coming out of our customers' taps. Once that water passes through our filters and our treatment systems, turbidity is around 0.08, 0.09, right around there. And so the number that it starts out as is not the number that it is when it comes out of your faucet. But we would love to get it back, at least in the reservoir, to 0.5-ish like it was before the storm. Again, I just don't think that's possible with the level of damage that we have in the watershed. I think it was the last time I was here, I shared drone video of the watershed, and it looks rough. There's a lot of debris, a lot of big trees, a lot of big boulders that have washed into several of the tributaries that feed that reservoir.
Do you mean you don't think it's possible ever, or in the next few years, months? What are we looking at?
I mean, like I mentioned before, I thought turbidity in the reservoir was going to stay at 10. Then I thought it was going to stay at 8. It's at 7 right now. I've given up on thinking what it was going to do. And so to make a prediction would not have a whole lot of data to back it up, but it's not going to be next week or next month. We know that for sure.
Okay. And speaking of pre-Helene, do you have any numbers on the water usage levels that could possibly be down from pre-Helene? Are people using less of the water?
They're actually using a little bit more. Our average daily demand is right at 25 million gallons a day. Before Helene, that number was between 18 and 20.
Okay. And then is it worrying to you at this point that we are still testing for lead? Is that a sign
Not
for
at
worry?
all. Not worried at all. No, we're very, very happy with the results. The results were pretty much what we thought they would be. They offer strong evidence that corrosion control was never lost, and they offer even stronger evidence that it's all the way back.
And speaking of those testing kits, are we looking at getting more of them? I know operations are going back to normal after January 31st, but I remember we were speaking with some North Carolina certified labs on getting some more.
They will still be available after the 31st for pickup and drop off at City Hall. Can't promise how fast we'll be able to get them to the lab for analysis, which is why we really, really want people who want one to pick it up and drop it off at before January the 31st at either of those libraries I mentioned or at City Hall.
Okay, and then lastly, we have gotten reports that at least one home in East Asheville hasn't had water for a few days, two specifically. Do you know the cause of these outages?
Has she called customer service?
She says he or she cannot get a hold of them.
Cannot get a hold of customer service. I would encourage her to try right now. I know we had a couple of issues in East Asheville over the weekend that were repaired. But if someone is still having an issue with their water service, the best thing they can do and the fastest way to get somebody out there is to call customer service, and that number is 828-251-1122.
What were the causes over the weekend?
We had a couple of pipes bust because of the cold weather, like we knew would happen.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yep.
Hey Clay, it's John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog.
Hey,
Welcome
John,
back.
you are loud today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
I'll try not to talk so loud then.
No, I just figured you were excited that I was back up here.
I am. I don't know. Maybe I got my computer up too high. Let me turn it down a little bit. Hey, following up on Madison's question on the increase in usage, that's pretty significant. And you would think maybe we've had some people leave town or tourism's down. What's driving the increase in usage?
I don't know. Looking at our real-time monitoring software that we use, I mean, pumps are running at tanks because tanks are draining. And it's not limited to like one part of the system either. It's pretty much system-wide. Now, a little bit of that, especially the last week to 10 days or so, probably could be attributed, like we had a couple of 6-inch pipes bust, 8-inch pipes bust, and anything over like 6 inches that breaks open does increase demand. But this has been the case for a month now. We've been, I think it's like 23.5 to 25 million gallons a day has been average usage, which before the storm, it almost never got over 20. And so I don't have anything to attribute it to.
And I'm trying to remember, but total capacity of the system right now, is it around 31 million?
31 is what North Fork is rated to push out every day. The last time it reached that level was during the actual storm, probably when the main transmission lines and the bypass washed out. Mills River, I think it maxes out at around 7 million gallons a day. So, if we had a demand of like 38 million gallons, we could meet it, but we would be redlining our operations.
Okay. All right. And then on the lead testing issue, I'm trying to remember the latest update y'all gave. I think y'all had handed out like 6,500 kits was the last thing I wrote. So are there still that many outstanding to be tested?
We've handed out a total of, I think it's right at 7,000 now. I looked up the number late last week. We don't think every single one of those is going to come back. For example, we've had a lot of people ask us to take them off the list as we post results on the website. And so let's say we have 7,000 tests delivered, about 1,200 results so far. Not all of those 7,000 are going to come back. We can probably count on 4 at least coming back, but I'd be real surprised if we got all the way to 7,000. And the new requests for tests have slowed way down. Way down.
And will y'all test anybody, that wants it tested, continue on, even though
anybody who's a City of Asheville water customer who has not had a test this go around, we're happy to do it. We're not circling back to people yet just because we don't have the capacity. But again, we're required to test every 3 years as part of our compliance protocol with DEQ. We did that last summer. Now, we will do that compliance testing again this summer at DEQ's direction in that existing sampling pool.
Okay.
And that's a
And-
result of lean and losing corrosion control and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. And with the, I know you had really been pushing the flushing your pipes advice. Is that continuing, or can you tell people that they can go back to the way they normally use their water?
That is every day. If your water system sits for more than like 4 hours before you gather water for any kind of consumption, run your faucet for 30 seconds or until you feel that temperature change.
Okay. And then I've still had a couple of people reaching out to me. They seem to be somewhat isolated, but in various parts of the city with odd smells or a very strong chlorine smell. Some people have described it as kind of like a funky, swampy smell. It could be an issue in their own internal pipes, but have y'all had anything that's somewhat widespread along those concerns?
We haven't had anything widespread. Customer service does get the call kind of here and there. If it does persist, if you have a valve or something in your area, we could flush that. I know we did that for somebody over the weekend after one of the repairs was made. There are a couple of things we can do, but most likely, if that problem persists, it's going to be on the customer side. It almost always is.
Okay. All right. I think that's all of my questions. I did have a question for Avril Pender regarding FCC, if she could come back up. Thank you, Clay.
And I've got a question for Avril as well.
Okay, well, I took a bet that all the questions would be for Clay, and so Avril has been dismissed.
Okay.
But you got me again, John. What do you have?
Yeah, you could probably answer this. I just still keep getting readers who are upset with FCC, cannot get through to their customer service, are very frustrated. Are y'all in communication with FCC, and do you have any leverage on them to tell them to, sharpen up their act?
Absolutely. So last briefing, we detailed how FCC is increasing those staffing levels, not just with their drivers, but also with their customer service. And so they are going to get to 55 staff members on their customer service line. And then we also have been, I actually was just emailing with FCC during this briefing about making sure that they call the malls, is the term that they use, the messages to residents about delays in collection are actually getting to residents. Like I said, I am a Wednesday collection person, Swananoa, and I did not get the bulk notification from them about the delay. I knew because they had called me over the weekend when things were looking like we were going to have a weather impact. And so Monday on the holiday, when they had to pull the trucks off the road because they were literally sliding off the road, working with them on that adjusted schedule, the county is putting out information about those delays, but making sure that the communications from FCC to the customers are getting through is obviously important, and something that we want to make sure folks are hearing from FCC on. So all of those pieces are being regularly discussed, regularly met with them. And like Avril detailed, 98% collection rates by February 1st for both trash and recycling is what we have agreed upon mutually with them.
Is there a quick follow-up? Is there any kind of when you get hired for a new job, you have a 90-day review that can give you the axe if you're not doing well? And that would be extreme, obviously. This is a long-term contract, but is there any kind of built-in reviews on this and it coming at 90 or 6 months?
Yeah, and that contract we have available on our public records portal, so you can take a look at that contract and see all of that outlined in it.
All right, thank you.
You don't even have to submit a public record request. It's just out there for you, I believe.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Sure,
Hi
another-
Lillian.
Hi.
So this is Justin.
Justin, hello.
So my question for Avril was, when we were both at the meeting last night, it was emotional. And was curious if she had foreseen any future need for further budget cuts, whether that's in the county or regarding the schools.
So I think Commissioner Ball said it best last night when he put it into the perspective of this isn't necessarily a budget cut, right? We have budgeted based on projections for the year. And so what we're seeing is that the revenues that are coming in don't align with those projections. So it's not necessarily a budget cut in the sense of the money is just being taken away and repurposed. The money is not materializing because of those occupancy taxes, because of those sales taxes. So I want to make sure the way that Commissioner Ball put it last night was really clear and helped kind of illuminate that we are starting the process for FY26 now. That meeting that we had with the schools last week is one step in that process. The schools work on developing their budgets and present those to us for FY26. We are hopeful that we see those revenues return, but we are going to take the approach of being very cautious and maybe overly cautious with our taxpayer dollars so that we don't overcommit ourselves or overstretch ourselves into new budget years. Once we see what kind of the new normal looks like moving forward when the weather starts to get nice again. And so we'll see, we will certainly see how those go, but I don't want to characterize it as a budget cut when the revenues have never been, are not being realized. And so that FY26 budget process, we've got a budget meeting on March 20th. Those are all streamed live on our Facebook page. Anyone can tune in and see how that process unfolds. But we will be working hand in hand with both school districts to help them develop those budgets for the next year and get those submitted to the state in order to comply with those guidelines June 30th.
Thank you, Lillian. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Justin.
Question from social media. I think this is for Clay. Are hospitals and local school systems still using public water, or do they have alternatives for drinking water?
Mission Hospital and the VA are both using the water. County schools are using the water. City schools isn't quite yet because they want to, if you remember, our plan for the cities, for the schools, starting November 30th, was to test every 30, 60, and 90 days. City schools want to conduct one more round of testing starting, I think, next week. That would be about 60 days from November the 30th. And when they get those results back, they will make their decision. But both hospitals and the county schools are using the water.
Additional questions? We don't have any more online. Poor Charles, I told him that he wouldn't get any questions at the end of this, but he's been very diligent sitting here representing USDA. All the information that we shared today and more can be found at buncombeready.org. That is our emergency preparation page. And we also have a very helpful resource guide for survivors there. You can also call our One Buncombe call center at 828-250-6100 if you have questions about Helene recovery, debris, residential trash, pickup, more. I will encourage everyone to sign up for our alerts. We'll keep you posted on those operational changes, like when the solid waste collection is delayed by a day. Emergency information and more, just text BC alert to 99411 or go to buncombecounty.org/code red. Final reminder, our briefings are now once weekly, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, and we will see you next week.